Right. Well, I'm just going to read out a signal message I got from one of our associate fellows who is watching at home. This Zarate speech is on the money, is what it says. So, Juan, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. I think that was a stirring ending. I mean, I must say I feel quite exhausted, not by the day, but by the list of things we now have to do. My notebook is full already. So I'm just going to be very brief. As some of you know, I have a dirty secret, which I love the TV show The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I channel a lot of my speaking learning and speaking skills from that, and keep it short is one of the tips in that. So, as you said right at the end there, when we a few years ago we had a team offsite, and we were sort of trying to summarise what is it that we do. And we came up with this phrase about like working at the intersection of finance and security. And as you rightly said, Juan, that has never been more apt. There is a financial thread, and many of you have heard me say this before, but I will argue until someone disproves it. There is a financial thread through security threats in a way that I think we often overlook. And our job, I think, is to shine a light on it, whether it is a threat that comes from poor imposition of financial crime policies, or whether it is the sort of more malign state-based threats that we face increasingly today. And one of the things I often get asked is, your life as an investment banker must be very different to your life now as a think tanker. And many of you will have heard me say, the pay. But there are a great many similarities. And I think one of the things I've enjoyed more and more actually is the need to be kind of creative in the way that we think about finance and security. I mean, I spent 20 years of my life trying to figure out how to bounce cash flows off different places around the world and come up with great deals, to use a phrase that's popular at the moment, for our clients. Legally, I hasten to add. But it's the same now. I think we need to think about how are our adversaries using this kind of financial engineering to baffle us. So taking advantage of a lack of transparency, using technology and everything that goes with it. I was slightly relieved as Juan was talking, because as some of you will know, I'm very keen on setting up task forces. We have many task forces in our program. And I was writing down the task forces that we have currently going. One is our task force on the UK's upcoming FATF evaluation. FATF is an important driver of change around the world. I think, as some of you have heard me say before, I would love to be FATF president for a day, and this is what I would do. That moment is never going to come. I won't be trusted with the levers of the Financial Action Task Force. But that's something that we look at, obviously, very closely. We have a UK sanctions strategy task force, which I think is trying to think through how the UK can use sanctions, not just in response to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, but in other smart ways. We have our European Economic Security Task Force. We heard David O'Sullivan talking a little bit earlier on today, but we need to think, obviously, kind of holistically about how we approach the finance and security challenges we face, and whether it's onshoring, reshoring, ally shoring, whatever the terms are. All these things matter to our future security. We have our Maritime Sanctions Task Force as well. And then we have our task force on building a public-private partnership in Ukraine. And actually, it's public-private partnership that is why we started this journey in this room in June 2014. And the work that many of you will know done by Nick Maxwell in this field has really set the pace for everybody. So I think we're in the right places. But of course, what we need to continue to do is to drill down and to do our research and to then communicate that. I was asked once by our trustees, so what's your mission, Tom? And I said, well, it's very simple. It's to be unavoidable and relevant. And so as long as we remain relevant and as long as we ensure that we are unavoidable, I believe that we will continue. So the last thing I need to do is to thank you all for coming today. Thank those of you who have been watching online, some of you in interesting places around the world. I obviously would like to thank our sponsors. This has been a great collaboration with HSBC, with Oliver Wyman, with the Standard Chartered, and with Stripe, and I'm hopeful that we will build on that. Thank you to our panelists and our various speakers. Thank you to those of you from our partnership forum who continue to support us. Thank you to the RUSI events team, the AV team, but I would like to particularly thank my team who have been running around responding to WhatsApp messages from me to make things happen, whether it's the Slido working, the social media we've been doing today, and everything in between. But I would particularly like to pay credit to Michelle Houghton, our program manager. Michelle joined us in December, and we said, we're putting on a conference in 2 months' time, and it's going to be big. And she has done a remarkable job of pulling us together in her calm way. So, Michelle, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. A round of applause to Michelle. Frankly, I don't think my lifespan would have lasted the length of the new administration. So, if you hadn't arrived, Michelle, so thank you. Really appreciate it. And then a last thank you, and I've missed people out, and I apologise for that, but a last thank you to Hasuna and his catering team, who are waiting upstairs for us for the drinks reception. So I would encourage you all, please, to have a last network upstairs and compare notes with those you haven't yet managed to speak to. So thank you all again very much indeed, and have a good evening.